I heard father say, continued Huang Rong while sobbing. That elder Hong had an exceptional skill, of incomparable power, of which even Wang Chongyang was afraid. It's called. How is it called? I can't remember anyway. I had it on the tip of my tongue all the time. I wanted to beg him to teach Yu. It's called. Indeed, she not some knew nothing, and talked big progressively. Hearing her hesitate, searching without finding, Shigong could not hold back, and cried, while jumping to the foot of the tree. That is called the dragon mastering 18 palms. Gojing and Huang Rong bounded up in surprise. One's surprise was real, the other's was feigned. Ah, Shigong, Huang Rong cried, how did you get up in the tree? By flying. Yes, that is it, the dragon mastering 18 palms. Exactly. How could I have forgotten it? Father often told me that the gongfu that he admired most in the world was the dragon mastering 18 palms. Shigong was delighted. Then your dad knows what the truth is. I believe that, after the death of Wang Chongyang, he considered himself to be the most powerful in the world. He turned towards Gojing. Indeed, your gongfu isn't inferior to that of your little friend. The problem is that your palm technique is not at all up to the mark. Good, granddaughter, you return to the inn. Huang Rong realized that he was going to give a lesson to Gojing, and she went away, all satisfied. Shigong addressed Gojing solemnly. You will kneel down and promise me without my permission, you do not must transmit my gongfu to no one else, even to your crafty little woman. Gojing was greatly embarrassed. If Ronger insists that I teach her, he said to himself, how could I refuse? Shigong, he says then, I do not want any more to learn, so what if she is stronger than me? And why? Asked Shigong. If she wants me to teach her, I cannot refuse without offending her, and I cannot accept without offending you. Simple-minded though you are, said Shigong while laughing, you have a good heart, and you speak straight. That is good. Very well, I will teach you a stroke called resisting the dragon means regret. I would imagine that Huang Yaoshi has enough pride that he won't, although he would crave to, copy my superior skills. In any case, our schools are completely different. I cannot learn his gongfu, he cannot learn mine. At that, he bent his left knee, pivoted and straightened his arm, made a circle with the upright hand and pushed outwards with the other. His palm touched a great pine and crack, its trunk broke. Gojing stood petrified, shocked by the power contained in this blow. This tree cannot move, said Shigong. If it was a human, it would obviously try to avoid the blow. The difficulty of this technique is precisely to strike so that your opponent cannot, no matter what, avoid it. So well that once you land your blow, crack, the enemy will collapse like this pine. He repeated the demonstration twice, explaining in detail how to concentrate and project the internal energy. It was only one stroke, but the lesson took more than an hour. Gojing was not clever, but he had a good basis in Neogong. And to learn a move such as this, made with simple movements but having unequal power, suited him perfectly. He trained conscientiously and, at the end of 2 hours, had grasped the majority of this technique. In that little imp's technique, said Shigong, there are many more feints than real attacks. If you try to follow her, she will run around you like you were a donkey and you will always fall, since you never will be able to be as quick as her. You will think that, after all these feints, the next blow will be real, but no, it will be a feint. And the blow following after, you will believe that it is a feint, but no, she will strike a real blow, and you will be in trouble. Gojing nodded his head in agreement. Thus, to fight her, the clever way is to completely put the thought of whether it is a feint or not out of your mind. When she attacks you with a palm blow, whether it is a feint or not, return it with a blow of opposing the dragon means regret. Against the power of your attack, she will be forced to withdraw and defend herself, so well that all her tricks fall to water. And after that? Asked Gojing. What do you mean, and after that? Shi Gong replied, his face suddenly darkening. You great idiot, do you think she is able to withstand this blow that I taught you? But if she can't withstand it, said Go Jing, very worried, won't she be injured? Shi Gong shook his head and sighed. If, in such a blow one seeks only to send out the force and not to keep it, if one cannot somehow control its lightness or its power, firmness or softness, how can one consider himself a master of these unique 18 dragon mastering palms? Go Jing was eager to consent, but he had taken an inner decision. As I haven't learned to control my force perfectly, I won't fight with Ronger. You don't believe me? Said Shi Gong. In that case, try it. Go Jing took a position, imitating his senior's posture, picked a pine with a particularly slender trunk and he struck it a violent blow. The pine was a little shaken but not at all itself broken. You big idiot, Shi Gong said, why are you shaking this tree for? To catch squirrels? Or to drop pine cones? Go Jing, red with shame, laughed with an air of denial, not knowing what to reply. I already repeated it for you, said Shi Gong. It is necessary to put the opponent in a position such that it cannot back up or get away. Your blow just now had enough force, but all it needed was for the pine to shake itself a little for it to escape the full force. It is necessary that you learn to approach and strike in such a way that the tree cannot budge, in order to be able to break it at one go. This was, for Go Jing, an illumination. Then, he cried joyously, it's necessary for the force to be particularly swift, delivered in such a way that the opponent has no time to defend himself. Shi Gong shot him a black look. Absolutely. That goes without saying. You sweated blood for such a long time, and you only now understand this truth. One really can say that you aren't clever. For this stroke, known as resisting the dragon means regret. Its essence is not found in the word resisting, but rather in the word regret. If one concentrated only on pure violence, brute power, a little force in the muscles would suffice. But then, how could this technique be admired by Huang Yaoshi? As the old saying goes, the inflexible dragon itself repent, the surplus will not last a long time. This is the reason that if there is transmission, there must be retention. When you send out a force of 10, it is necessary again to preserve within yourself a force of 20. The day where you will know to appreciate the full meaning of the concept regrets, then you will be able to consider that you have understood 30% of this stroke. Just as a fine old wine, that has had time to season at first taste, it is not strong, but afterwards that it releases its full heady flavor, that explains the concept regret. Go Jing didn't understand anything about these matters, but he tried to memorize them, in order for him to calmly reflect upon them later. To learn the martial arts, he always had adopted the same method. That which others may assimilate in a morning, I will devote 10 days. Then he concentrated on the study of the palm technique. At first, the pine balanced itself to each of the blows that it received. Towards the end, these became more and more powerful, but the tree moved less and less. He realized that he had progressed and rejoiced somewhat. The face of his palm had become red and swollen, but he did not treat it, and continued to train with determination, never relaxing. Shi Gong, who had initially laughed at his persistence, had stretched himself on the ground and snored calmly. Little by little, Go Jing felt more comfortable. He attained a mastery of his energy, to carry the blow and to keep it. He brought up his breath into his dantian, advanced his palm violently, withdrawing his force immediately, so well that the tree did not move at all. Delighted, the young man repeated in the same way. While concentrating his force on the edge of his palm, he heard a crack, and the small pine broke apart. "Bravo!" cried Huang Rong, who had seen the scene from a distance. She approached slowly, carrying a heavy shopping basket. Before even opening his eyes, Shi Gong had smelt the delicious aroma of the food that she brought. "That feels good. That feels good," he cried while jumping to his feet. He seized the basket from the girl's hands and opened the lid. he beheld a dish of roasted frog's thighs, a very fat duck suited to the 8 treasures, and a big bowl of white and immaculate money noodles. With joyful cries, he pounced on the foods, not drawing up any praises on this that it devoured to beautiful teeth. But, as his mouth was full, one couldn't understand anything he said. In an instant, the bowls containing the frog thighs and the duck were emptied. Realizing that Go Jing again had not eaten, the old beggar felt a little ashamed of his gluttony. "Go on, eat up," he says, "these noodles aren't bad." And as he felt really bothered, he added, "They are even better than the duck." Huang Rong laughed and says, "Shigong, you haven't yet tasted my best dishes." Surprised and delighted, the old beggar eagerly asked, "What dishes? What dishes?" "You can't name them all," replied Huang Rong. "For example, returned cabbage in the wok, steamed tofu, hard eggs, roasted meat." As a well-informed gourmet, Shigong knew well that it was in the simplest dishes that the true masters really showed their talents. The same applied to martial arts. Wondrous execution of the simplest techniques was the hallmark of the great masters. These words of Huang Rong delighted him, therefore, so well that his face itself was almost imploring. "Good, good," he says. "I always said that you were a brave little girl. Do you want me to buy you cabbage and tofu? Please?" "It's not worth your while," said Huang Rong while laughing. "And then, what you will buy will not suit me necessarily." "Fair enough," said Shigong. "None other than you can choose your ingredients." Just now, Huang Rong said again, "I saw him break the trunk of a pine who's already more powerful than me." "Not at all," Shigong protested, shaking his head. "He isn't up to standard at all. It's necessary that the point the trunk breaks be perfectly neat. Look, it's all twisted, like a saw's teeth. What pathetic gongfu! And then this pine is as slender as a stick, no, as slender as a toothpick. This kid isn't up to the mark at all." "But if he attacks me with this palm," objected Huang Rong, "I will not be able to defend myself. This is all your fault. If he bullies me later, how will I do?" Shigong, who wanted to get back into her good books, did not want to keep annoying her, even though he clearly saw that she was being duplicitous. "So what, according to you, must I do?" "Teach me a skill with which I can beat him. After that, I'll cook for you." "Very well, we're agreed," said Shigong. "He learned only a single blow, it's easy to beat him. I will teach you a fist technique called wandering strides." No sooner had he finished speaking that he rose to his feet to demonstrate. He jumped to the right and to the left, with grace and nimbleness, while his big sleeves flew away. Huang Rong not some lost a crumb and silently memorized every movement. When the old man had finished the complete chain, she had already half learned it. After it had given all the supplementary indications, it didn't take 2 hours for the girl to execute perfectly the 36 movements of the wandering strides. At last, she executed the skill at the same time as Shigong. They stood side by side, the one to the right, the other to the left, twirling as a jade swallow and a great eagle gliding in the skies. At the end of the 36 movements, they landed on their feet at the same time, regarding each other, and burst into laughter, while Go Jing applauded vigorously. "This little one is 100 more intelligent times than you," says Shigong to Go Jing. "So many movements and variations," marveled the latter while scratching his head. "How did she learn so quickly? And how does she manage not to forget? Me, when I remember the second movement, I've already forgotten the first one." Shigong burst out laughing. "Indeed, you absolutely cannot learn this wandering strides. Even if you memorized the steps, you are incapable, in the practice, to produce a spirit of striding. Executed so painstakingly and clumsily, this fist technique would become a real chore." "You've got a point," conceded Go Jing while laughing. "This wandering strides," Shigong said, "is a gongfu that I practiced in my youth. I have brought it out again to match the direction of the original gongfu of the little one. Indeed, It doesn't correspond to the martial arts that I use currently. Thus, I myself haven't used it once during the last 10 years. He wanted to mean that the Wandering Strides was a lot less powerful than the 18 Dragon Mastering Palms. Huang Rong was delighted. Shigong, if I beat him again, he'll surely be unhappy, so teach him again some blows. She herself had no real intention to learn, it was only a pretext to push the old beggar to give more lessons to her lover. If she really had wanted to obtain martial arts, she had at her disposal a great master in the person of her father, of which she never all could have learned. This dumb kid, said Shigong, he hasn't even fully digested the single blow that I learned for him. Who two kisses poorly embraces. It suffices that you prepare me a lot of dishes, and I will grant all your wishes. Very well, said Huang Rong, smiling. Then I leave for the market. Shigong laughed heartily and himself returned to the hostelry, leaving Go Jing alone in the pine wood, where he returned to training with determination, late into the night. That night, Huang Rong indeed prepared a cabbage dish and a plateful of tofu for Shigong. She had carefully selected the most tender cabbage heart and leaves, then she had done to return with hen grease and filaments of duck leg. But the plateful of tofu was really extraordinary. She had cut a ham in two, then dug 24 small spherical cavities, in which ones had placed balls of tofu, before closing the ham and beginning to steam it. At the end of cooking, the whole flavor of the ham had passed into the tofu, while the ham himself was left out. After tasting of this dish, Shigong evidently was conquered. This steamed tofu had an equally inspired name of Poetry Tang and was called Full Moon Night on the 24 Bridges. If the girl had not had at his disposal the family technique called the orchid skims the point, her 10 nimble and delicate fingers would not have been in a position to cut 24 small balls in the fragile mass of the tofu. To do that demanded as much delicacy as to engrave characters on a grain of rice, or to sculpture a boat in a nutshell. It would have been easy to cut pieces of tofu in a cube, but where had one seen square full moons? After dinner, each went to go to bed. Shigong was astonished to see Go Jing and Huang Rong going to separate rooms. Huh? Aren't you husband and wife? Why don't you sleep in the same room? Huang Rong, that had not stopped joking with him without reserve, felt all embarrassed. Her cheeks blushing, she looked upset. Elder, if you continue to talk nonsense, I won't cook for you tomorrow. What's this? Shigong was astonished. What did I talk nonsense? After an instant's reflection, he realized. I'm old and senile, indeed, he said while laughing. You're clearly dressed as a girl, and not as a wife. You, therefore, promised to each other secretly, without the consent of the parents or matchmaker, or the wedding ceremony. Don't worry, I will be your go-between. If your dad does not accept, he'll provoke a duel and we'll fight, my goodness. For 7 days and 7 nights if we have to, until he yields. Huang Rong was precisely worried about this matter. She feared that her father would not like Go Jing. The words of the old beggar filled her with joy and she returned to her room, her face radiant. The next day, Go Jing went back to the pinwood at dawn. He practiced to about 20 rounds with much sweat, but rejoiced at the progress he accomplished, when he suddenly heard a voice speaking behind the trees. Shifu, says a voice. We must have traveled more than 30 li this time, isn't that right? Indeed, replied another voice, you've achieved some progress in endurance. This voice seemed very familiar to Go Jing, who then saw 4 individuals appear, of which the first one had white hair and ruddy complexion. It was none other than his number 1 enemy, Liang Ziwang, the 1000-year ginseng. He moaned internally and took to his heels. But Liang Ziwang already had recognized him. Where do you think you're going? He cried while thrusting himself forward in pursuit. The 3 other men were his disciples. See their Shifu running after an enemy, they themselves split up in order to surround the young man. I need to get out of the pinwood and get back to the inn in order to be safe, said Go Jing to himself, while running even faster. The first disciple of Liang Ziwang barred the way and shouted, while crossing the two palms. "Little peasant, kneel." He attacked with a technique of sizing taught by his master and sought to seize Go Jing to the chest. The young man folded his left leg lightly, the straight arm turned in, made a circle with his right palm and struck powerfully outward. It was precisely the blow that it had just learned. Resisting the dragon means regret. His opponent feels a sudden power, and attempted to dodge it, but it was so powerful that it broke his arm, throwing him a distance of 6 or 7 feet, and made him lose consciousness. Go Jing, that never would have believed that his blow was going to be so strong, was in a daze, before resuming his race. Surprised and irritated, Liang Ziwang jumped in front of him. Go Jing had just left the pines when he found the Immortal One in front of him. Very frightened, he himself got in position and launched once more as resisting the dragon means regret. Liang Ziwang did not know this blow but, in front of its power, knew that he could not handle it. He had to roll to earth to avoid it. Go Jing took the opportunity to flee. When Liang Ziwang itself recovered, the young man had reached the front of the inn and screamed, "Wronger, disaster! Here's the evil one that wants to drink my blood." Huang Rong poked her head out the window. "How did this old monster get here?" she asked herself. "Thought's good, I'll try out on him this new wandering strides that I have just learned." "My love," she cried. "Don't be scared of this old crust. Begin the fight, I'll come to help you, well teach him a good lesson." "Rong doesn't know the power of this old monster," said Go Jing to himself, "that's why she speaks so lightly." But Liang Ziwang already jumped on him. In front of the violence of the attack, the young man had no other option but to launch once more as resisting the dragon means regret. Liang Ziwang twisted and dodged several feet to the side, but his straight arm was almost touched by the breadth of the palm, that left a burning and painful track. The Immortal One, frightened inside, was amazed that this kid, in the space of some months, had progressed so much. "This must be," he said, "due to the absorption of the precious blood of the snake." This thought annoyed him and he jumped to the attack. Go Jing defended himself again with the same blow. Conscious that he could not oppose it, Liang Ziwang retreated, but, seeing that the young man did not have at his disposal other such fearful blows to press his advantage, his fear lessened. "Little idiot," he cried, "do you know only that one blow?" Go Jing tumbled right into his trap. "Even this one blow," he replied, "you still won't be able to avoid it." And he advanced, launching once again his resisting the dragon means regret. Liang Ziwang dodged and jumped behind Go Jing to attack it. He turned and attempted to attack again the same manner, but his opponent was himself, slipped behind him. Thus, the young man, that knew only to attack in front, was completely perturbed and did not arrive any more to face. Seeing him on the verge of losing, Huang Rong cried, "My love, let me take care of him." She sprang forward and interposed herself between the two fighters, attacking Liang Ziwang with palms and kicks, who returned the attack. Go Jing retreated 2 steps to watch them. Huang Rong had well learned this wonderful technique that was the wandering strides, but, besides the fact that she had obtained it too recently to truly master it, Liang Ziwang was in fact a lot stronger one than she. Thus, without the protection given by her soft armor, she already would have received several blows and certainly would have been injured long ago. Before even to have deployed the 36 movements of the strides, she was located already in bad posture. The disciples of Liang Ziwang, surrounding their elder injured brother, observed the fight and, see their Shifu was winning, shouted out, the better to encourage him. Go Jing prepared himself to assist Huang Rong when all of a sudden Shigong was heard to shout, from behind the window. His next blow is called the nasty dog blocks the road. Very surprised, Huang Rong lives that Liang Ziwang, the legs firmly spread in the rider's stance, the stretched fists horizontally, indeed taking the stance of the terrible tiger blocks the road. She couldn't prevent herself from laughing internally. Shi Gong changed the name of this blow. But how was he able to guess that this would be that one? She heard then the old beggar shout again. And his next blow is a stinking snake in Il's water. She realized that it was a matter of the green dragon in Il's water, for which one lengthened the fist forward, this that unveiled a rift to the back, in the back. The venerable seventh had at pains finished to speak that she already had slipped herself behind Liang Ziwang. He attacked effectively with green dragon in Il's water, but as the girl, warned in advance, had the advantage and attacked from the back, he made himself safe only because of his exceptional technical mastery, that allowed him to change position right in the middle of a movement, and to fly himself further away. He landed on the tips of his toes, surprised and furious at once. "Who is the powerful master that hides in the shack?" he cried towards the window. "Why don't you show yourself?" But there was only silence behind the window. Liang Ziwang lost himself in wonderment. How could this person succeed in predicting my blows? Fortified by the support of a great master, Huang Rong now feared nothing. She regained the initiative and launched herself to the attack. Liang Ziwang resorted to killer blows so that the girl herself was forced to give up the upper hand. "Don't fear anything," Shi Gong cried then. "He will do as the monkey with the rotten bottom climbs to the tree." Huang Rong burst out laughing, held the fists and attacked downwards. Liang Ziwang effectively had sketched a phenomenal gorilla climbs to the tree, and had, after to have jumped in the air and attacked downwards. But Huang Rong had preceded him, then if he continued to jump, that meant that he simply was going to offer the head to the falling fists. He had to change his technique immediately if, in a fight, the opponent knew in advance all your blows, it would not take long for him to overcome you. The immortal one, fortunately for him, was a lot stronger one than Huang Rong, and this allowed himself to extricate himself from a bad situation at the last moment. Suddenly, he jumped back and shouted, "If you persist not to show yourself, I won't hesitate to be ruthless towards this girl." Changing his tactics, he rained down his blows like hail in a storm, so much so that Huang Rong absolutely could not adorn, and that Shi Gong had not the time to call out his blows. Seeing his loved one in danger, reduced to dodging right and left, Go Jing leapt forward and sent out once more as resisting the dragon means regret. Liang Ziwang jumped back. "My love," said Huang Rong, "give him again 3 blows." She turned and went back into the inn. Go Jing took a position, awaiting the approach of Liang Ziwang and, no matter what technique the immortal employed, he returned it with a resisting the dragon means regret. His opponent, not some could but, furious and entertaining at once. "Where on earth," he asked, "did this dumb little fellow learn this strange blow? And why does he know only that one?" But even if he knew only one blow, the dumb little fellow held it in respect and it there could do nothing. All 2 opponents therefore immobilized on their position. "Silly fellow!" Liang Ziwang cried then. "You'd better watch out,